And we're live.
We and we're dumping. All right,
We're
we did it.
dumping.
Oh
All
yeah.
right. That's what we're opening it with. Hi, everyone.
We did it.
Welcome to Monday Trading Spaces with Room 110. I am Crypto Breath. We have Vlad, Dot Bread, Lone Wake, and Magna discussing the markets this week. What Room 110 is, we are a collective group of individuals that we're building bridges with pure intentions for people to connect, learn, and grow. We have weekly spaces on Twitter on Wednesdays. If you're on Twitch, check out our links. We have our Twitter link and our Discord link. But last week, just to recap, me, Vlad, and Magna, we talked about Chop, and Chop is what we got, but it looks like we're leaning more toward the bear side this week. So, guys, you want to take it away on what we're looking at today?
Absolutely. Thanks, Brett, for the beautiful introduction. This is Lonewick. Go ahead and start off with the dollar. This is a crypto trading channel, but we like to look at the dollar and legacy markets and that stuff to kind of compare that to where crypto is and where it might go. So this is the daily chart. Nice. I love this look here where we like take out a low and then run back up. See, I thought we were going when I was here, I wasn't here last week, but I was here a couple weeks ago and um kind of thought we were going lower in the dollar. And then this past few days, I was like pretty confident we were going to go lower in the dollar. And we just kept running. And um, yeah, made this huge move just yesterday. I was telling you guys about in the channel when we were around like this spot a few days ago, like look at these nice, look at this triple tap right here. These triple lows, this little zone here. It looked so much like it was just setting up to go lower and it just kept climbing and climbing and boosting up above that high. So yeah, definitely caught a little off guard there. Luckily I wasn't in a trade against that or anything, but kind of a surprise to me. Um, at the moment, with the way crypto looks, with kind of the stance of the Fed, really doing what it can to make the dollar stronger, I think I think there is higher for the dollar. And I think this is a little bit too obvious of a move. This is just kind of my opinion right here. This big move down that retraced this whole move up, I don't know, feels a little too clean, and just to like continue down from here doesn't feel super likely, but I don't have a huge logical basis for that. But I do like these lower areas here. I don't think people really trade the dollar directly, so it's not like these are literal liquidity areas, but they do tend to act the same. So they do tend to line up with sort of the opposite side liquidity areas on a lot of currency pairs, and often crypto as well. So yeah, not super easy to call here, but with how weak crypto looks right now, I'm kind of expecting a little move higher in the dollar, whether we make a new high or just come up maybe towards this block area before going down again. That's a more what I'm expecting here, but of course, hard to tell. Uh, yeah, so we still have this high, this pivot high that's pretty near, that's pretty local. Um, wouldn't be too surprised to see that one taken out sooner than later. So check that out. Let's look at what we have on the calendar on this calendar here. Economic calendar. So we have a pretty thin week. And looks like most of the action as far as heavy weighted events are going to be in the second half of this week. So we pretty much have nothing with much impact tomorrow, or today. We really never do on Mondays anyway. Tuesday, tomorrow, we just have the US consumer confidence, um, you know, Aussie CPI, none of this is real. I mean, the manufacturing index and consumer confidence may like make a little tick, but that's not something that the market is going to sit and wait for. They're not going to anticipate that. It's not heavy enough typically. Wednesday is where we get a little bit bigger event, which is the manufacturing PMI. And so that's kind of like a leading indicator of, or a pretty good indicator of like the strength of the economy. So that'll have a little bit more weight. So I think we'll probably start, getting a little flat into a range later Tuesday before, going into that on Wednesday morning. So yeah, Wednesday that, Thursday we have unemployment claims. Not a real heavy thing. It seems like one, but most usually isn't. So, and then Friday we have the services PMI, which is another economic strength weakness indicator. So that may have a little weight as well, but not huge, not like FOMC or non-farm payrolls, but some. So Wednesday, Friday, those are kind of our big days as far as events go on the calendar. So, like I mentioned to you guys earlier in the Discord, I think, I just said that I think we're allowed to make a directional move early on in the week. So today, maybe early tomorrow, and then maybe we stall out a bit going into Wednesday, and then potentially continue, maybe a directional move after that. But yeah, so looking for a bigger trade, bigger move, I like, today, which has already been pretty good for shorts. We could continue doing that going overnight or into tomorrow. We shall see. Those are just kind of probabilities. Yeah, let's see. We'll go to, I don't usually look at SPX, but I know this is one of Magna's favorite indicators, because crypto seems to follow S&P 500 even closer than something like measuring it against the dollar. So yeah, I mean, just to take a quick look at this without having like studied it much at all. To me, this looks like it has more downside near term. We've got this gap. I'll round it up pretty soon here, you guys. But this is a pretty significant gap to fill. I mean, these were super bearish here. Gap down, didn't even fill it. Gap down, didn't come back to fill it. Finally stalled out here. Finally took out this pivot low here, just a tiny bit with some wicks. Closed and opened above, or like right at that area. That's a pretty shallow break there, and I think there might be more down there. Just eyeballing this, I like to look at a naked chart most of the time. Just look at simple things like pivot lows, gaps, things like that. And this has set up, one of those acceleration zone kind of things that I like to look for as well, where you have these sort of three equidistant points, three or more. Often price tends to run or make one or two big candles through that area when it comes back to it. So we've got this gap here, we've got that there, this shallow break of this low here going into a gap below there. It just is a big lineup of things that, kind of areas of liquidity that I like to look for and that tend to get taken out consistently at some point. So yeah, we're looking at lower in S&P. If that's the bias, that's mine personally. Maybe someone else has a better argument for higher. Then, we often kind of expect crypto to follow S&P for the most part. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm looking for in general. How do you guys feel, Magna?
Yeah, one thing looking at those SPX charts, one thing I hate about looking at those is all the gaps. And so That's why I look at the ES chart, which is the S&P mini futures, and that kind of more
Ah,
in line with what we look at. But I mean, it's all showing you the same stuff. In my opinion, you know where I'm at. I,
mm,
I I'm not feeling too good about the situation. I think we had some pretty good short squeezes over the weekend and in this morning, and but um, it seemed like the same exact thing happened in the legacy market as well. So a lot of things are, the Monday fuckery basically, and um, yeah,
mhm.
crypto doesn't bottom until the S&P bottoms, and so are we going to go back to the October lows? I think is when it was in the S&P. I can't answer that, but should at least have a plan in case we start really heading down there. So that's where I'm at.
Cool. So mostly in line, pretty bearish. What
Yeah,
do you have going on there? What's
yeah. So check this out. So every week I was thinking about it. I want to do something where it's like where Magna was wrong. Okay, let's
huh?
because we post screenshots. We make money here and there. We do pretty good, right? But nobody talks about when they're actually wrong. Some people do, but rarely do people, especially on crypto Twitter, really talk about that. And I want to talk about this KNC trade that I got completely wrong.
Hmm.
And yeah, so over the weekend I posted something about it in the chat, and it had to do with Adam from crypto Twitter. He posted something about it, and he's a very smart guy. I've learned a lot from his articles, and he was talking about this KNC. So I started watching it, and let's go to one of the charts that I actually trade off of. This one right here. So this was the day. It was. Let me use a little tool. It was basically Saturday. It was right in here. Oh, that's not a triangle. Or that's not a rectangle.
Hmm.
Hold on just a moment. That turned out to be a really weird one. Why is it going all the way over there? Oh. Anyways, it was this day right here, okay? Where you see where this SFP is? Okay. Well, leading into that close, I was sitting here watching this, and right after the close, it did this huge wake up. This yellow is the 20-day, or excuse me, 200-day moving average, which I play off of that stuff all the time. Well, it didn't quite get there, and it had this huge wick left over. So, I'm thinking lone wick in my head. I'm thinking it's going to come back up. It's going to come back up and fill this in. Maybe take another shot up into the 200-day, and that's when I'm gonna short it to oblivion, right?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't. And what I should have been looking at, and I was looking at this, and that's what's I'm working 7 days a week, so I can't catch every move. But you see this, I highlighted that area where it went up into that wick. And where I missed was you see after that, you see the leading up to it, open interest going up. Okay, you see the CBD spot going up, the CBD perk going up. It's like, this thing has some serious momentum. And then after that, I'm thinking, okay, it's going to come down and it's going to retest that wick, like I was saying. But if you notice, open interest just kept bleeding out, and the spot CBD just kept bleeding out.
Hmm.
And so, what I totally missed on that, basically what that tells me, and Vlad could probably correct me if I'm wrong, is that basically the people that were holding spot at that point, that was their exit, and that's market sellers, selling at market, and basically dumping, and it never came back. And it's unfortunate. Like I said, it's just been slow bleed. Let's go back over here. Just see it's been slow bleed ever since. And so never got that shot at the title up there. A little bit of a run up here yesterday, but it still wasn't enough for me to get in because I was looking for these higher levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, total miss on that one. Um, I'll never recover. Let's
I
talk.
feel you, man.
Yeah,
I never
another
would have
one.
gotten into that with that wick just being there alone like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
but
where
then
those
there's more under the hood. There's
right.
definitely more under the hood, and that's what I missed. And yeah, so anyways, another one that I was trading this weekend was DYDX, and some of it went pretty well. A lot of it just could not break through a certain level. So I cut it this morning, and then boom, then it smashed the level. So that's another miss. But look at this weekly on this one, triple bottom. I got Vlad's voice in my head talking about the divs. I mean, you got bull divs on the weekly. I mean, this thing set up pretty nicely for a nice run. Well, I didn't really start hearing about it until a few days ago when it was already like at 270 something. And so, so that was a complete miss on my end. But there was such low volume like early this morning, and then within like one 15-minute candle, it just exploded, and I totally missed that. Yeah, this was earlier today. I woke up, I got in like at 276, and it got up to about this 284, 285 level. And like I said, it had been constant rejections off this level, just constant, unable to break through it. So I was like, okay, I'll take profit right here. And then I go to the gym, check the phone, boom. I mean, that's a huge miss.
Dang.
So,
so you got some of it.
I got some of it. I mean, that's a lot of, a lot of these were break-even trades. I got one really good one a couple days ago, and then there was like two break-even trades, and then this one. That's why I was like, gun shy. And then all of a sudden, yeah, I mean, I should just sell it. There's no reason if I had an entry like this, then there's no reason for me to cut it except just because I'm greedy and I want to take money. So that was a mistake. Yep. Other than that, I'm trying to think. This anchor one, this was a fun one to short. This was really fun last week. So I got in up here. So this is where Magna was right. All right. Let's go over to the chart that I trade off of. 4 hour. There we go. This one was pretty sweet. It ran up really hard. Vlad's the one that brought it to our attention. I got some shorts in up in this area, and this thing was just an ATM for about 2 days. Anytime I opened another position, I had this short running just as a hedge, and it was beautiful. Well, then when it got down to, this is the monthly VWAP, these dots, and of course not mine, but the daily EMA. Then I started backing off of it, and then it started running up. And I didn't long it. I probably should have, but this one could be at a pivotal point where it's either going to start going back down or it's going to bounce back up. I haven't decided yet. But other than that,
yeah,
go ahead.
That does look on that lower time frame chart that you started on that one. What was it? The 1 hour maybe?
Probably hourly,
on Anchor. Yeah, I mean that looked primed. I mean that looks pretty good for higher eventually here. Like that almost leads me to believe it just wants to come take out those little local lows that it's near,
and
maybe boost higher up into that wick, up into that.
Yeah,
possibly, but I don't know if things just go shit the bed soon or.
Yeah, and then the Matic short I got in earlier today was really good. I'm out of it now. I probably should have held it longer, but I didn't. But if I was to go to and show you how I got into this one, let's see, too much stuff going on here. This is a 5-minute chart. Once it got to this level here, this $1.28, and it started, at a 25x leverage short, you're basically, $1.31 is pretty much your liquidation level. And so I start, scaling into some here. But I'm really watching. I was showing Vlad this thing I learned from watching Jim's stream is the divs. When you get up to a level, trading up into these Keltner bands up here, you start watching for these 5-minute divs. And I actually started being able to use divs like effectively. When I see a couple of these, that's when I started going for it. You see this print here. I think it's an SFP on maybe a half hour. Maybe it was 15-minute. Yeah, there it is, 15-minute. It printed the SFP, and I was like, yes. And then the rest is history. You were in it too. But yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know how far we're going down on this one. These are things I'm just taking day trades right now because I'm just busy and I don't have time to really monitor every single chart half the time. So just if there's money, if I made money, I take it. That's it.
Nice. Yeah, I could have used that advice just a couple days ago.
Right. Where are you thinking of? What's your target on this one now?
Um, well, yeah, a couple days ago, I took that trade where it dropped down to 119-ish, right before that drop, and it was like, man, this is easy money. This is going straight down to
Yeah.
106,
Fair
and it
enough.
just V'd right back up and took me out at break even. I'm just like, dang, I was like up so much, and then gave it all right back.
Yep. It's a weird weekend for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't I'm wanting the extreme on this just for my trade and with the setup. Do you guys mind switching over to mine real fast? We can go back to Magna's.
On yours now.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. So, I showed you guys this silly chart a couple of days ago. This is like the market cycle I'm looking at here.
The Dookie bottom.
Yeah. So that's where my hopeful target is. But
Okay. Nice.
it's gnarly. Like I don't want that for crypto and for Matic, but like I want it for my trade. And I don't know. This just
Yeah.
looks so clean. Like all these hits,
It's gonna
like,
happen. Yeah.
and it's just this perfectly flat shelf and then this large gap right under it. I mean, it comes back around, it does eventually, unless we just really leave it way far behind, like very quickly. So, since I am in this short right now, just from around right here, I don't want to see it trace back up into this little order block necessarily, or at least not very deep into it. If it does, I just want to see it come down and just escape this area, and ultimately find itself just in that spot there. It makes sense to me for now. I mean, we've gotten past all of this area here. And we've closed down here, so it's like things have shifted, it feels. We still have, we bounced just below 120 here. We didn't even hit 119 squarely. We're at like 119.5, and there's still mostly that gap left underneath. So that's where I'm feeling pretty good. Is that we at least come down, fill some of that. That's a really low time frame gap. This doesn't look that great on this time frame, but it's there on lower. And then we have this big one just below this pivot low here. So that's there. That's on a lower time frame as well. Pretty thin. And then just the home run is under these lows. And it's like, just look at that. I mean, we have these really perfect equal ones too here. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I just want to see it make the home run, and hopefully my trade does. And I'll hold it. I might shave some off after we clear this low if we do, just to take a little profit. But right here, I'm not going to take anything. I'm gonna let it go. I have my break even just above, like up in here somewhere. So just hope it doesn't tag me out. But that's what I've got on Matic.
Yeah.
I
And
just
one
want
thing
to
I've
add.
been.
Oh,
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
I just want to add for the Matic short that I started getting my feet wet into, where it V'd up to 153. That was my liquidation point. So you guys know like how good I am at marking highs and lows with my own money and losing it, so you guys can win. I just want to add that
Oh,
when
okay.
my
Nice.
liquidation point was at 153, but I closed with the loss at 131, I believe, and then I walked away for the weekend. And then I saw that Trader XL and Trader SZ, they really want this thing to go sub 1. So if you're trading alongside with them, then I think you're probably there. It looks like a bearish under test or whatever. And then it'll go down. Just looking at my chart, the Hull suite is turning red on the daily. So they might see some exit liquidity, but none of that, it's down. But Yeah.
See,
Yeah,
and
the whole suite's
yeah,
a good one for you to use because you're kind of a longer, higher time frame trader. That the whole suite's actually really good for you to use.
Yeah, it worked really well. I tried betting on like Bitcoin going up this run, like breaking 25 because Hull turned green. I'm like, I'm not missing this one. And then,
Yeah.
good old Brett's fashion, when I want to get in, the market's like, hey, he's back. Let's get rid of him.
Yeah,
Or
it's a
scare him
little
away
too.
again.
Yeah, it's a little too slow for some of my lower time frame trades. That's why I don't use it anymore. But yeah, it's perfect for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
no doubt.
it works for me. But yeah, we are definitely going bearish, but that's
see, and
fine.
you mentioned these other traders, these other big guys who get a lot of attention and stuff. They're all calling for lower too. So that's where it's like, I kind of don't like that. That's what makes me a little wary. Is everyone's calling it on Twitter. Um, yeah,
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 but
those two guys are different though, in my opinion. They usually get pretty good info. You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
they do.
but
They're really good traders. But they post things with
Yeah, they
the at the same timing as everyone else, as in when they're really happy that they're already short.
yeah.
So I think
I've been listening to
to
Exo.
Wick's point, so to speak, they like those sources are great, and they are, as far as I know, really good traders. But I still think, I actually still think in the same terms of Wick on that one. Like, it's that, if it's that public, then
I would
Yeah,
normally
that's
say
one of your main talking points when getting into a trade. I know, and I always think of you when I'm thinking like, I don't know, what's the crowd doing? Because you're always the first one to say that, and I like that.
Yeah. One
But
thing about those
no,
guys, one thing I will say about EXO in particular is that I've been listening to his streams and that he has these levels mapped out like in advance, like weeks in advance, and he's very patient. And so when it hits a level, if he's posting about how he's in the short, it's he's had it planned out for a while. It's very well thought out. Yep.
interesting.
yeah, no doubt though, for like, sure. But I'll switch over to my chart because I have it's a Wick. Like, speaking of Matic, I think this could be an interesting scenario. Kind of hope it doesn't play out, I suppose. But let's see. I'm gonna try to get rid of some of the indicators here, but Matic as well, right?
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
1 day.
I was looking for that. Yeah, I was looking for that 135-ish level too.
Yeah. And so here, like the here I had my original level. I've let go of this short a long time ago, unfortunately, which I really should not have done because I actually got in short at this level.
We have no reason to cut these shorts. I mean, yeah, I've been in shorts from way higher too. It sucks.
But to that end, like the logic is, the kind of the source of the price manipulation that took out highs and then sold off, right? So you want to use that reference point again. We came into that, and we've sold off, right? And then we have this kind of pivotal high here, which we also kind of closed under on a daily level. And I always expect these areas to be retested. Like, fairly, if this is a sharp downtrend, then you want to see these being retested quickly, as they are kind of here. Like, we can look at the lower time frames and see how these retests kind of here it actually kind of starts grinding down. And anyways, the point is that this one, the lowest one, hasn't been properly retested, and I wouldn't say this one either, because for me, I look for the mirrored pattern to occur, if that makes sense. So if this is your classical head and shoulders, I'm looking for the right shoulder to form here. And typically, because, and this also goes back to like liquidity, right? The idea would be like we like rate this low and then come back higher and go just above here. Because if you go just above the right shoulder, it's gonna
Get their stop.
exactly, because you have a bunch of head and shoulders traders that you know are definitely gonna have stops at the invalidation of, I suppose, one of the most common trading patterns. But this could also just as well be.
Say, isn't that the shoulder? Isn't that the right shoulder already though?
In my opinion, no, because it's
Okay,
for me, it's also about the time.
got it.
So if I
I
have,
hear you.
yeah, so if I have 176 bars, right, I want to, look for something in that vicinity.
I like that.
And it's something you like. This repeats all the time, and when you start looking at the sort of the timing that these retests occur, it kind of also, I guess,
Yeah.
explains some of the price action, in a weird sense. But this is also based, I suppose, on the fact that we are likely to, if we make a lower low here on the 1 hour time frame, if we do make this start on this red path, then we're also like going to be likely to print an RSI, like a bullish divergence here. And that's like just because of the fact like how much it rose here. My expectation, and this, you can never know until it actually happens, right? But my expectation is for this to come down something like that, and for this to come down something like that, and giving us our
That gives you the div.
that gives us the dip, and then the expectation is for the momentum to reset and come up here again, and by this time I'm expecting us to be up here, and then diverge down, and everyone gets long because we are, we're getting above here, right? But for in my way of thinking, and everyone does this differently, obviously. As displayed, we all have very different ideas that, funnily enough, usually boil down to the same levels. Which I think is alpha in itself, right? Like all of the systems actually tend to tell the same story. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at, but it doesn't mean it has to happen. Yeah, and I'm more a fan of I'm a fan of long in these rather than is it for some reason that's just where I found kind of my ticket in trading, is like recognize when the bounce is going to come, and then it sort of doesn't matter if it's the bounce. The bounce is good enough, like it pays the bills, as Magna would say.
As I would say. Now, are you using the date range or the date and price range for those measured move things?
Now this was just sort of a freehand kind of thing, but
no, not that, bro. The where you measured basically the one shoulder, and you said, well, it's an element of time.
Right. And it's not something that has to be perfect. I just look for a somewhat symmetrical head and shoulders.
Yeah, no, that's about the tool you use. Is it the date range? The date?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, this is just doing the same as you do this, the sort of range tool, which is hold down Shift on the keyboard and click left click.
Oh, okay.
That'd be easy.
Nice.
The time element is so fascinating to me. Like,
yeah,
you've noticed that happens, around, an equal distance, and that's kind of what you're like waiting for it in time, rather than like a technical candle thing. And that's the same thing that, the acceleration zone idea. Like it's so often like these three equidistant points, and you can see it right there too. Like on kind of the higher time frame, the most recent three pivot lows, like look how those are like exactly the same time apart. Why is that? Like that's elusive, and that's like a mystery to me. Why does that happen? Is that purely algorithmic?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question.
That's an open question.
I mean,
What's the
to some
safest outcome? You
degree,
know,
like my theory on it would be that in any market you're going to have the small players and you're going to have the big players, and the size difference between these two entities is massive usually. Um, and so I think to some degree it's the idea that some of the actors need to work through price a little bit more, like needs time to exit positions. Um, and it makes it so that not all moves can happen that fast necessarily. So I think to some degree it's about like the liquidity in that marketplace, which is going to just create some of these patterns organically. But I think it's algorithmic. It's the like self-fulfilling prophecy that oh, we came up here on the RSI, so we should now cool off a little bit, and we cool off a little bit, and we have this expectation that it's not going to be a straight line down because we have so much history of it, essentially. So I think it's probably a little bit of everything, right? But if we can look back and see that, like, yeah, it's X amount of days between each peak, then we as smart traders, we wouldn't expect whatever move, the move that I'm looking for example, right here, we wouldn't be expecting this to happen in this 4-hour candle. We wouldn't be expecting, this.
like it may
Narrowly.
just be a factor of just the amount of time it just takes. Like
Exactly,
it's just
yeah.
a happenstance pattern. Like, I know it's
To a degree, at
yeah, it's
least,
logical.
I guess, right? And then it's always the liquidity. Like, you have to come below these lows to trap enough shorts that, by the time they panic close, right, we're coming back up here, and, whoops, it happens fairly easy because all of the sellers that were going to sell, they were convinced it was breaking out or breaking down completely, so they went from limit to they went from a limit sell maybe to market, right? Because oh shit, it's going, and then they are trapped too, and I think that's how the patterns happen. It's just like you empty one side after another.
Guess so.
And
I
if
wanna
it's
pay
trending,
closer
yeah.
attention to this. Like, see, you are right now. You're like, okay, by this day, around this time, is possibly has a fairly good probability that it's going to get there if that's what it's going to do. It's like if you put a line from, those main three pivot lows that you're looking at there, starting from like 105
These ones, right?
to that most recent one. Yeah, like if you put a line from the first one to the second one, it's like you could have just been like, okay, at nearly this day and around this time, or at least on this day, it's probably going to hit that again if this is going to do one of those equal things.
Right, right.
Now that you're kind of pointing this thing out, I want to pay more attention to that in the future here.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Yeah, yeah. With like the diagonals, like I actually like to use them just for the time, I guess, aspect of. But maybe I should move on to just some other pairs, I guess, that I was looking at. But to be honest, most of the things look bearish. Bearish enough that I would kind of bet that it goes up a little bit before it goes down. And I think that's like aligning fairly well with the S&P as well, because we took liquidity down here, and usually it's a little bit like Newton's law of motion. We're looking for like an equal and opposite response to some degree, and in this case that might be grabbing the other side of the liquidity. So I wouldn't be surprised to see us pressing higher here. the beginning of the week. It's as always, all of these arrows and all these things, like, we delete them. I delete them when they don't make sense anymore, or when they're wrong, because we don't generally make them to show off, right? It's just it's like to have a plan, to have a plan A, and then and to have a plan B, maybe plan for each direction, and it helps with remembering the idea, and if the invalidation staring you right in the face. It's easier not to get emotional and hang on to it unnecessarily.
In your experience of watching this stuff over and over, hours every day, it's like you have certain expectations, and oftentimes they happen. But then, as you get more information, you just update it as it invalidates. Yeah.
Data driven.
Data driven, yeah.
I like the time thing though. That'd probably keep me out of some break even trades, or some paper cut stop losses kind of thing. Because it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll wait a couple more days to see how this plays out.
Right.
Wait a couple more bars. I posted something about Blur in the leverage trading chat, that I thought it was going to be head and shoulders last week. It turns out it was. And then when I did the measured move, it turned out it was 14 bars on each side. So that's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So anyways, carry on.
I was just scrolling through the things, and just considering, like, most things are fairly bearish, I would say. Like, there isn't much here that I typically like. This is a great short at some point here, but I also see the wicks. This is a low liquidity pair. But if we get one more retest up to orange line, I would probably consider going for a short on this. Because this is painting just the perfect diagonal one. This could easily break down right now, I suppose. But yeah, most things do not look.
That would be my expectation here.
Yeah, I got FOMO from looking at that. That is for sure. Yeah, I mean, everything is, if we inverted this chart, which we actually do, this is bullish, right? Just to test ourselves a little bit.
So how violent of a move are you guys looking at overall? Like, do you think the Bears will get wiped out just as much as the Bulls did this past week? Do you think we're gonna range? Because I'm going back to Wick's calendar of events, that the unemployment numbers are coming out Thursday. And Magna, I don't know if you want to chime in on this, but how much do unemployment numbers have an effect on the market as a whole? Because with the Fed's message being that they want to raise rates, and Powell saying for the past 2 years that he's wanting to see labor numbers drop. So if the labor numbers do drop, will we see a positive response or a negative response? And I have one anecdotal data point, which is I know someone that's currently applying for a job, like just a regular entry level job, and the applicant pool has risen like tenfold. He's competing against 1,100 people for a $45,000 a year salary.
Ooh.
So I'm like, oh, so maybe unemployment is ticking up. So
yeah, we've had
one data point that I have.
Yeah, we've had layoffs. Yeah, that's for sure. There's been some layoffs, but yeah, unemployment numbers are almost as important as inflation numbers, because those are the Fed's two primary objectives. So, but yeah, I mean, we've had layoffs, but the last jobs number was like way over. There was like twice as much, or 2.5 times as much as they estimated, and that's what puts the scare into them. And then also with the inflation, it was the core CPI came out last week. I mean, those are two nails right there that are pretty tough to get over. We cannot rule out a possibility of pricing in the 0.5% rate hike, and that would be prepare your A's time actually if you're a
Mhm.
if you're a bull. Yeah, but it could be just multiple 0.25s. A lot of people are thinking Fed pivot by end of quarter two. Well, it may not happen if this keeps happening.
See, and yeah, I guess it pays to look back at numbers that came out, a couple weeks to a month or so ago.
Mhm.
Because yeah, when I was saying that's not a big event necessarily in terms of immediate price reaction. That's typically how it is. Like if it's anywhere just kind of near in the vicinity of forecast, it's usually not anything that will like do much unless it's a massive surprise. Like, but we do get those, like we did.
Yeah.
So, but then, yeah, but then you kind of see the movement in the week following or so.
So
Yeah, that's
probably
when they
more
when they
top.
had those minutes FOMC minutes released last week. That's why it wasn't a big. It was kind of a non-event because um, all that talk was before the new data, so it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So it looks like we just have to stay frosty then, because anything could happen. But it sounds like the Fed's getting what they want now. But if the Fed rates keep wanting to go up, then we know that stuff would want to go down.
What else you
Yeah.
have, Vlad? Anything?
Sorry.
Anything you're watching?
Alpha. When are we getting in the long? When are we max
Mhm.
long in alpha?
Yeah,
I want to
right.
know.
Right. When everyone and interact with is convinced that it's going to be a really hard landing. No, but I mean, I agree with all of the things around the rates and all these things, and I guess you have like even bigger kind of long term issues. I think in the U.S., I think the sort of the richest demographic is sort of exiting kind of the workforce and like probably
Wait, what?
gonna like the who are they? It's like the boomers, right? That have most of the money. If you were to
They're
divide,
retiring.
if you were to yeah, if you were to divide, all the demographics into well, their demographics, then I think I think it's the boomers that have by large the most assets, and as they exit kind of the workforce and move into retirement, then they're probably going to risk off a lot of capital as well. And I think that should also lead to like a slowdown in itself. So there are multiple levers in play that I definitely don't understand. So I'm just going to look at the chart and then look around and see when is no one given a shit about this anymore. Um, look for the crowd to surrender basically to the down only narrative, and at that point we'll start to go up. And
Alrighty then.
Mhm.
just non-technical, right? It just means that yeah, because people talk their bags, and if people super negative, it means they already sold. And so when everyone's super negative, it means everyone's sold.
Mhm.
And it's back to the liquidity thing again, just on a much larger time scale.
That's what I'm doing. Everything's going down. It's all down.
Yeah, down,
No,
but probably not the
because
down that you want.
no, I know.
Have you guys looked at a Filecoin chart lately?
Perfect bullish entry. Yeah, Filecoin.
Hey, Wick, have you looked at a Filecoin? I know Wick used to trade this.
Yeah, I haven't really paid attention to it recently, but
Dude,
It was not fun trading this on leverage.
Oh, I
Just
know.
because of how ugly the chop tends to be in this thing. So it's kind of like you have to do a little bit longer term, like more of a swing, have a fairly large stop.
Or a spot.
So
Yeah.
yeah, or just spot. So yeah, that's kind of the reason I stopped actively trading it. Yeah, I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to this. Let's look at.
Yeah, 'cause it ran hard. Me and Vlad shorted it one day last week. It was great. And then it ran harder after that. There was some Chinese narrative. Remember after the Lockheed Martin announcement, it had like one candle and that was it. It was over.
Oh
Now
yeah,
all of a
yeah.
sudden, yeah. Now all of a sudden this, and you almost wonder
Yeah,
if
and it
it's
does that. It makes these massive candles, and then every time it just erases that move. And that's something you can kind of count on this. I think I've mentioned that before.
That's what I was thinking, but
Yeah, yeah.
it looks like it's kind of stabilizing here. Like a little 12-hour order block. There's a 4-hour order
Yeah.
block
And
hanging
So
out. 4-hour order block.
it always does this thing where it like launches and then retraces about 50% of that move, tightly consolidates right in the middle of that massive move, and
Okay.
then does a directional thing. And typically,
Hmm.
just from memory here, maybe a little off, but typically it will like just continue back down, erasing that move.
yeah.
But
What's the
sometimes
narrative?
it
Yeah. Was
yeah,
it
I don't
Chinese
know.
narrative or something? Last week, Vlad, did you hear about anything?
No,
Pumping so hard?
no. I think it was just a laggard, in the altcoin pump fest. To be honest, I didn't hear anything at least.
The pump fest.
And but I mean, it's Filecoin is one of those that if you want to buy something that no one owns anymore, then Filecoin is great because this red candle right here, that's Barry Silbert puking his bag of Filecoin.
He's dumping on you.
Right here, I think they basically sold off majority of their Filecoin. Grayscale, yeah.
Because they have a Grayscale trust for Filecoin. That's right.
Exactly. So this is, like if you were buying here, you were buying, one of, possibly the space biggest grifters. I'm not quite sure. Jury's out on that one, but you were buying his pain
He's awfully quiet.
down
He's
here.
awfully quiet.
Yeah, he has. So this kind of move felt natural,
Week in a while. Yeah.
and then this is probably the holy shit, everyone needs to get long move, and then it kind of fizzles out probably, even more, at least down to here is what I would like to see this kind of be retested. Move up higher.
It's just going to stay there for the next 6 months.
Could be, yeah. Because you never know, but Filecoin is, it's a very legit project in the sense that
Yeah, right.
they're doing actually cool stuff. So
Mhm.
GTC is one I was looking at earlier today.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think we're right on a short entry, just as I talked about actually.
Yeah, I know.
This is where it.
Everything was pumping at that time, though. Everything was pumping at that time, so it was scary. You can't just go jumping into short.
Yeah, no. So this is where to when I'm patient, right? This is typically what I look for. The low time frame retest of these higher time frame levels. It's just a level reclaim, right?
How'd you hear about this one? How'd you hear about this one?
So this is Gitcoin, I think, which is it's a super legit project. I think they do a bunch of what's it called when something is public good? They do a bunch of investments or what do they call it when you support like independent developers and
Okay.
I don't know. I use.
Is it like GitHub?
No, it's not like GitHub. But quick. It's about funding, basically. It's about funding developers that build things that are good for everyone that uses blockchains. I guess that's kind of the motto. I don't know if the coin has any other, valuable properties. I don't think it has any DAO membership or anything like that. So, or maybe it does. I don't know. Everything's a DAO these days. I'm a fan of this pattern. Because we typically once we're in this kind of a rise. Okay, granted, we have a kind of a big candle here, so time for caution is also around. Seeing the big candles like this, but if you notice, like every time we take out a high, we have a fairly significant retracement. If you just look at them, you can take whichever daily high that you want. As soon as we reach one of the daily highs, then have some kind of retracement. As a rule, because there's a bunch of liquidities above these highs, and above the daily high must be a fairly common take profit for day traders, for example. So it's always easy to short these levels in terms that you get a fairly quick response. Just nice, you don't have to sit and sweat in a trade for that long before you know the way it's going to turn. So we'll see. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put on short actually on this one.
Max short.
Yeah.
Okay. Max short.
No.
Looks like we just
Oh. Okay, guys.
Right. Yeah. Time to close it out, I guess, because Vlad has to go short something. Basically.
Let's go short.
Vlad, you gotta go to bed, man. It's late. You gotta go to bed, bro.
go to bed.
It is late. It is 10 o'clock, but there's supposedly northern lights outside today. I'm gonna go.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna go hunt for some actually.
Bullish. That's
Okay,
bullish.
buddy. All right.
Go enjoy.
Very bullish.
See you guys.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, you guys.
Have a good one. Playing the bearish outro.